Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Unnamed Sports Podcast. We are here to discuss the conference games.
Yep.
And, of course, try and make our Super Bowl predictions.
Sounds good.
I'm Brian.
I'm Rob.
And we'll just get right into it. So we're going to start with the Detroit Lions versus the San Francisco 49ers.
Sure.
What was your initial reaction to that?
It was a different sort of game. It was almost like neither team wanted to win it. One of the first funny things was that it was outside, and San Francisco was falling all over the place. They had to change all their shoes.
I didn't even see that part. I didn't even realize that.
Every guy, they had 3 sets of shoes on the field because they were slipping all over the place.
Was it that rainy?
It wasn't that bad. I mean,
Yeah.
They play outside. Detroit plays in a dome. But
Detroit
Detroit didn't have the
was
problem.
fine.
It was really kind of weird. But, and, you know, Dan Campbell made a name for himself, kind of being a gunslinger, like I said. And it seems like in the end he did his team in a little bit by not playing conservative, I guess.
So, and that's the thing. All year, he was, let's go for it. Let's go for it on fourth down. Let's just, doesn't matter. We're going to go for it.
Yep.
And I'm fine with that during the regular season. I think that's cool.
Yep.
But when you are in the playoffs, it's about putting numbers on the board. And I understand you want to break the back of the other team, but you were up by 17 points.
Yep.
All you got to do is kick a field goal. Because if you kick a field goal, my whole thing is like, if you missed a field goal, fine, you missed a field goal. But then at least you gave it a shot.
Yeah.
And then you run this play where Goff has to kind of run out and he's got no one to throw it to. And, you know, San Francisco's defense for the majority of the year has been a dominant defense. In the playoffs, they have not looked dominant.
They have not.
And they've been getting gashed by the run.
Yeah.
Which is kind of
unbelievable
crazy.
With those 2 linebackers, Greenlaw, and the 54, I forget his name. They usually are lights out against the run.
But Detroit had 182 yards rushing, which seems like a ton. And then it just wasn't. They weren't playing as San Francisco wasn't playing like the team that we had seen earlier in the year, which is what always happens in the playoffs. These things change.
Yeah.
These teams change. And on the other side, Brock Purdy wasn't. He did what he needed to do to win the game in the end, which was a lot of the sports media will question. They're like, oh, how will Brock Purdy do when he's trailing? Well, he's shown you that he can come back, but he also gave a lot of opportunities to the Lions. He gave away an interception.
I had no idea they were going to be able to come back from that first half. It was
atrocious. But it was also, like we were saying about Campbell, he opened the door.
Yeah.
I understand the thing that's crazy with a lot of these coaches is you have this mentality that I'm a go for it coach. Yeah. That doesn't mean you have to go for it all the time.
I know.
We were talking about it off air, but Bill Belichick, you know, he'll kick a field goal. He'll take the points because in the playoffs, it's a different game. It's all about just getting points on the board.
One of the things that on the broadcast, what's his name? The guy that was the tight end for the Carolina Panthers there for years.
Oh, yeah.
Who's now out of a job. He kept saying that they talked to Dan Campbell, and he thought it was the first one to get to 30 points would win the game.
Yeah.
And he was right there. But if he kicked 2 field goals, he would have made it. And for some reason, that stuck out to me, what he said, because it was like Campbell was going for it all, even at the first play of the second half. You know what I mean?
It was as if he was he was going for the jugular every time, when all you needed was a body blow.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just, at that point, it's not about getting the knockout. It's just about getting the technical points so that at the end of the game, somebody's holding up your hand instead of their opponent.
It's momentum. You know, you still have momentum if you kick a field goal.
Yes.
If you go
you put more pressure on them.
And you get nothing from the 30-yard line.
It shifts.
The momentum shifts. Now their defense is happy and excited about what they just did.
And they do that. Then there's the fumble, which was horrible. And it just felt like everything that they were doing was in that second half. It was it's like the whole year they were like, we're the new Detroit Lions. This is how we do it. And then it's like, as soon as the playoffs come around, it's like, you're doing Detroit Lions stuff again. Why are you doing this? Just play smart.
They played smart up until then, and well, we can say that about a lot of teams. Look at Buffalo; they've been on the door 5 years in a row here now.
It takes a certain mentality to kind of. I think for this should be a lesson because Campbell can tell himself in the future that he's going to go for it, but it doesn't work.
Yeah,
like you have to that's so much pressure. It's so much pressure for your whole team. Like we're talking about kicking a field goal, that's pressure on really one guy.
True.
It's pressure on one guy going for it. Your whole team, offensive team, needs to be ready to go.
And then you've taken them down a peg as soon as you don't do that.
Yeah, and it's okay to kick a field goal. That's what's like. We'll talk about it, but the Chiefs, when they played against the Bills, how many field goals did they kick? They kicked like their first
3 or 4.
3 or 4 were for field goals.
Yep.
And if they had gone for it every time, they would have been down by so much more.
Well, and have we seen that new coach mentality win it all yet?
No.
Have we seen that?
No.
We haven't seen that yet, right?
No.
It's always Andy Reid.
It's Andy Reid. It's Belichick. It's when the
they get there. They get near there.
Bruce Arians. Those are old school guys doing old school ways, and sometimes the old school works.
Yeah.
This is not social justice. This is the NFL, and sometimes you just need points.
There's highlights on ESPN, and then there's trophy.
Yeah.
Do you know
and
what
it's
I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what do you want more? Do you want be like, oh, they went for it, they go for it on fourth down all the time.
Yeah.
But sometimes just take the field goal, move, especially when you have a big lead. You don't need to crush their soul because San Francisco has been here before. They have a defense that's been here before.
Yep.
Their offense is great as much as people want to sit there and kind of talk about Brock
Purdy.
Purdy.
I have my problems with their offense.
But they have one guy.
They're so good, but I have my problem with their offense is Shanahan. Shanahan's offense is built for being ahead.
Yes.
If you're behind,
it's tough. But they were able to do it. They were able to do it, and Christian McCaffrey was brilliant as always.
Yep.
He's just a relentless force.
Yep.
But yeah, I was really hoping that Detroit was going to pull it out. I'll always root for Detroit because it's just sad places. They need help.
I was very excited that they might get in because then I would root for them. It's kind of see that's what's hard is
you're conflicted
for the game because nobody's an underdog really here. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? San Francisco, I guess, is a little bit more because they're trying to get over the hump.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, we can move on to the
Baltimore game.
To the Baltimore game. Initial thoughts on that?
There was. It's just I really thought that's exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah.
That it was going to be laid all in Lamar Jackson's lap. He was going to take the fall. The pressure was on him from the first quarter when he came off the field and he didn't make the first down. You could see he was dejected. They did nothing to help him out. They didn't run the ball well.
No, they didn't run the ball.
And their defense, every time their defense had a chance to, they forearm shivered the guy in the back of the head to get a 15-yard call against them. Play after play.
They were doing mental mistakes.
Mental mistakes.
Which is there's a Clowney drilling Mahomes in the face.
Yeah.
After good 3 seconds after he threw the ball, he just drills him in the face, helmet to helmet.
And there was another guy. He was a tackle. He literally punched Mahomes.
Yes, yeah,
right in the head.
Which is crazy.
Or that other one down at the end right near the end of the game, where they decided that they wanted to take the offside, so they just decided they were going to blow up this lineman.
Foul.
I'm like, what are you doing?
What was funny is at the beginning of that game, did you see all the drama with Travis Kelce and then the kicker?
I didn't. I really didn't heard about it.
It's so funny because the way the media portrayed it was they're bullies. The Chiefs coming in and they're just acting like bullies, and even the kicker was like, no, that's we were joking around with one another.
Yeah.
And that's how it goes. And we were just joking, but the media kind of takes it.
And that's Baltimore doing that too. So they bring out Ray Lewis at halftime, and then they bring out Suggs between the third and fourth quarter.
Yeah, people thought it was 50 Cent coming out because it was the smoke and all this stuff coming out of the tunnel.
And that's old school. They won it once. They lost it 10 times.
I feel like they were almost doomed when they brought all those people out. When you bring all these people, and it's just we're here. We're going to come. You're going to come to our house. Are you going to mess with this?
But
it's like Ray Lewis isn't on the field anymore.
But that's their whole MO. It always has been. You know, the only guy that ever won it was Joe Flacco.
Yeah,
right?
and that defense.
Yeah, the defense won it.
Trent Dilfer.
Trent Dilfer.
Who's like...
You know what I mean? What I'm saying is that the defense that they've had for years, it's always unbelievable. But they had to get Trent Dilfer, who was able to get them over the finish line.
I mean, when I looked at this game, that opening drive by the Chiefs set the tone.
Yep.
And it set the tone because it wasn't a realistic portrayal of how the rest of the game was going to go. Because in the second half, the Chiefs did literally nothing. But then when you hear like interviews and stuff with Mahomes about what was going on in the second half, it was basically like, I'm just trying not to mess it up.
That's it.
Just put all the pressure on them. We have a great defense. I'm just trying not to mess it up and
make them go 80 yards.
Yeah, and
and hopefully Lamar wasn't going to run for 75 of it.
Well, what's crazy is like they had as a team, they ran 16 times. They ran 16 times. When you look at the amount of times that the Kansas City ran it. This is what's nuts. They ran it 32 times for 89 yards.
Yeah.
Baltimore ran it 16 times for 81 yards. It's like they just needed to run and trust their offensive line and trust their runners and trust Lamar to run it. But you start throwing it down the field.
What's that game? The way that where you put it in the quarterback has the decision to put it in the guy's stomach or pull it or run. That's Lamar's game, right? Right?
Just run.
There was none of that.
Yeah.
They put him back. I don't know. And now they've lost their defensive coordinator.
Which is what happens to all. We were talking about it last time. It's like the thing that makes the Chiefs dangerous is that Spags is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
That system has been in place ever since Mahomes has been there.
Yep.
And Andy Reid's been there. What was even crazier was that that Eric Bieniemy got fired.
Yes.
He got fired. He was hanging out with the Chiefs. He was sitting in on meetings. So that shows you that the culture of the team is like, hey, it's a family. We love you. Come on back.
Yep. Well, I guess that's one of the hard ones to figure is why he's not even getting a chance to be a head coach.
It's because my main thing is it's because he was under Andy Reid. Everyone looks at Andy Reid with such kind of awe, and the people who've come out from underneath Andy Reid really haven't done anything.
And I've heard people saying that maybe Andy Reid might call it a career. Is that true?
I would doubt that.
Oh, you would? Okay.
I would.
Because then they said Bieniemy would get the job.
If you're winning, and you've taken your whole career to win. Like people were questioning, Andy Reid in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Andy Reid, which is funny because even in the last Super Bowl, there was a touchdown to Sky Moore where Andy Reid was trying to call timeout and he couldn't get the timeout called, and they scored a touchdown.
Yeah,
because the play was the alignment was they were on the wrong side of the field. Like Sky Moore was supposed to be over there.
Yep.
And he was over there. But like, I can't imagine. Andy Reid looks at he's got the golden goose.
Yeah.
And why in the heck would I like the very fact that they won this game, or even the fact that they won this game and the Buffalo game, I'm just like, this is ridiculous. Like
well, when you think about it, that was with Buffalo or with them, the hardest road. They were going to have to play each other, and then they were going to have to play Baltimore, and then we all thought that they would probably have to play San Francisco.
Yeah,
that's three.
It's the three best teams in the league, and you don't think. Like, that's why it just doesn't make any sense that they were able to pull it out. But they got lucky. Like, their defense was giving up some chunk yardage there in the second half. That fumble. But it was also, like, we saw the Flowers. He gets that big reception. He runs down the field. What's funny is, like, the Chiefs are very sneaky because he was being grabbed. Flowers was being grabbed as he was getting up. And so then he pushes the guy off of him so that he could get up. And then he drops the football next to him.
But I never even saw him getting grabbed until the next day.
Yeah.
Me. You know what I mean? But I saw him push the guy. But that's their whole MO. It's
they just didn't use their heads.
Well, I know everybody wants to go down in the end zone and do a silent movie after they catch a first down pass. But I guess I'm old school like that.
No, I mean, it's one of the things that everybody loved about Barry Sanders is that there's no one today who's made plays that are nearly as like great as the plays when you go back and you watch Barry Sanders do what he did to some defenses.
Yep.
And then he walked into the end zone, he'd run into the end zone, and then he'd just hand the ball to the ref.
That's it.
And he'd trot back, and then there's no flair.
What is wrong with that?
Because everyone's got to, what is it, the great movie, The Other Guys? They're all peacocks.
Yeah,
They're all peacocks. They got to show you their feathers. They got to dance around for you.
I know.
But the thing I will say this is another reason why the Ravens lost is because people like Travis Kelce, he was so smart, not just in his play, but in his antagonizing of the other team.
Yeah.
He was messing with them in the first quarter. He was messing with somebody. He got in their face. The other guy comes and pushes him, flag. Like, he knows that it's the retaliation.
That was what's his name that used to be the linebacker for the Patriots. He helmeted him. He banged his
Teddy
helmet.
Bruschi, or which one?
No.
Linebacker or Gronk. Or no, you're talking about a linebacker. No.
It was a linebacker that used to be on the Patriots. That's now on Baltimore.
Oh.
And he's the guy that smacked his helmet. And that was the first 15 yards.
Which is like,
it was just so stupid. Kelce, he did. I agree with that. But he made a couple of great catches.
Oh, he's incredible.
Great catches.
It's like he saved up the whole season. He saved up the whole season just for the playoffs.
Because I really didn't think Mahomes was that on his game.
He's going against an insanely good defense.
Yeah.
But that's why those first two drives were so impressive, because you get the touchdown on a crazy throw, like it's like back shoulder throw, but it's at his hip.
Yeah.
And it's a late turn by Kelce so that no one can like block the ball. It was great. Like, their scripted plays.
That was to a spot. He was throwing it to a spot.
And it was on a string.
And Kelce had to get to that spot. And
it was perfect.
That was a perfect throw.
And then so we can, there's just one more thing about this game, but it was Lamar Jackson. I think one of the things that Mahomes has gotten better at over the years, especially after losing to Tom Brady, is, and this is something that Josh Allen's going to have to learn. It's something that Lamar's going to have to learn. It's something that Brock Purdy already does right now, which is why I think he's dangerous. It's okay to be a game manager.
Yeah.
It's okay to be a game manager. And Lamar was like throwing the ball down the field when that dude could get 10 every time. 10 every time.
Well, he thought, but you could see that the whole weight of the whole stadium was on him. This is my time.
Well,
they all kept saying it, and no, it's the team. We're here to help you.
Yeah.
No.
And it was coaching. It was
coaching.
The offensive play calling was just crazy. Like, you don't need Lamar to throw for 300 yards or close to 300 yards. You don't need him to constantly be pushing the ball down the field. It's
and Lamar in most games is able to make up from bonehead moves from their defense because they're so adamant about hurting you and standing over you, and they probably could have got called for 5 more.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? The refs were trying to not play the game, and they weren't. So
yeah, well, it's I really thought that the Ravens had the chance, but then as soon as I saw the spectacle that was all these people coming, I'm like, that's too much. Like, if anything, just like when Ray Lewis and them won a Super Bowl, obviously they didn't have some other team to come out, like an older version of themselves come out and be like, look at us. But I think going in the future, let's just play the game.
That's all.
Just play the game. Don't have the smoke fill up in the tunnel.
Well, not to tout Belichick, I'm not really saying, but he always tried to take it on himself, so that you're not looking at all at the 61st guy on the roster who the Malcolm Butler has to make the play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that they don't do that.
They don't. All right, so now we'll move on to the Super Bowl. 49ers versus Chiefs.
It's the betting bowl.
Is it the betting bowl?
From Las Vegas.
Is that what people are calling it? Well, right from what I'm seeing, the Chiefs are underdogs, especially on the ESPN poll. They are underdogs. It's like 60% to 40% that 49ers are going to win. I think this is one of those times where I got to say Brock Purdy has been getting it's certain people love him, certain people hate him. I am one of the people where it's like this dude hasn't really done anything to say. I can't say anything negative about him.
No.
He's the last dude. He's not even supposed to necessarily be there. He comes in, he does his job. He will throw some mistakes out there.
Yep.
But that's what every quarterback does for the most part.
Yep.
And I will say this. There are certain times, like in the 49er game, where he threw some balls that they needed to be thrown. He should have been picked off multiple times in that game, and the balls hit the defender in the hands, and they just dropped it.
That was the Green Bay game, too.
Yeah, and there's other ones where he made the catch, but it was in between three different guys where it's ooh, that's so close.
Yeah.
And I do fear.
But they have
so many other guys.
They have so many other guys. You know what I mean? And you can tell that Debo is at half speed.
Debo's at half speed, but they have Christian McCaffrey who is going to score a touchdown. It's a guarantee.
Ayuk is always dependable. What's his name? The tight end is always dependable.
Kittles. He's I'll love him forever. I'm a University of Iowa grad. He's a University of Iowa grad. It's tight end anybody who comes out of there is just a beast.
Yep.
And they have the Iowa State connection. That's Brock Purdy's an Iowa State guy.
Yeah.
And I think that the 49ers, on paper, should win the game. They should win the game. But there's also a part of me that's just the Chiefs just keep proving people wrong. Do I want to bet against them? Do I want to go against them? Because they haven't. Everyone was talking about the middle of the season, beginning of the season. They were this. Oh, they're the team that drops passes. Oh, they're the team. But there's been one consistent thing all year, and that has been their defense.
True.
They haven't given up more than 24 points.
True. And Mahomes is now learned how to not make mistakes.
He's Tom Brady.
The only thing is that there's a possibility it might come down to the last drive, and that's where they're going to need him
to be Superman
to get that first down on the run, to hit Kelsey in a small window.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, or to have one of those guys that's been dropping passes all season make the play. Right.
I mean,
right?
Valdez-Scantling in the last game, on 3rd and 9,
was really good.
They need a catch. He makes the catch.
He makes that catch,
and it goes to show you the trust that Mahomes has in his teammates. To be able to throw it up there.
I just think that if things don't go, I was really surprised. Things didn't go San Francisco's way, and I thought they were toast. Mm-hmm. And they got out of it, in my opinion, because Dan Campbell kind of messed it up. He had it right in front of him. Kansas City's not going to mess that up.
No, and they're going to kick that.
They're not. Do you know what I mean? They're not going to mess that up. So if the same thing happens again, I don't think that San Francisco is going to recover.
And I would say, obviously, Kansas City's defense compared to the Lions' defense is night and day. They have two of the best corners in the league.
Yeah, I know.
They will
come out of nowhere,
down.
But it's true.
They will shut you down. I mean, last year they were the youngest defense.
Yeah.
And this year they're 1 year older and wiser.
I mean, if it's Debo or McCaffrey, that's a tough ask for those guys.
It is. I mean? It is. And I will say, the only reason I'm leaning towards San Francisco is because I just can't believe it. I just can't believe that Mahomes and them are going to win the Super Bowl this year based on the year's performance.
Yeah.
And it's just if they win it, and it's well, what the hell is everybody else supposed to do?
Well,
I mean, it doesn't even make I will say my biggest fear for the 49ers is the moment too big for Brock, because even when you look at Mahomes' 2 Super Bowl wins, those are not his best games.
No, he managed them.
But he started off slow against the 49ers.
Yeah.
They were down by 10 with 7 minutes to go, and then he kind of just locked it in and made it happen. He wasn't the best quarterback on the field versus the Eagles. I felt like Jalen had that one fumble, but he had a great game beyond that.
Yeah.
And so for Brock this time around, I'm just he seems like he's got the mellowness in him, but he also will throw these crazy passes.
Yeah.
So my thing is if San Francisco doesn't turn the ball over they have a really good chance to win. I think ESPN's like matchup predictor where it says 59.4 to 40.6, I think it's much closer than that.
Much closer than that.
It's so close.
It's just coming to me now. I'm not going to bet against Kansas City.
Never?
No, well, this year anyway.
This year, yeah.
I'm not. They were not a very good team a month ago. Mm-hmm. They've hit their stride at the right time. They're pretty healthy.
Yeah.
Andy Reid and the defensive coordinator are on their game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think all the nerves are going to be with San Francisco.
There's a lot more. There's pressure on them.
There's Purdy.
It's a big different game.
There's Shanahan. Shanahan is never got over the hump. You know what I mean? This is a big hump for him to get over.
It is, and the reason, like I said, the only reason I'm going to go against the Chiefs, because I'm just going to go against them, is because this run would be of the 3 runs that they would have had. Like this is the one where they're not supposed to win it. They're not supposed to win it, and if they win it, then it's just like that much. It's that much better for them.
But once again, I'm going to look backwards to look forward. But when Belichick and Brady had it going, even though they didn't have the best team, or weren't playing the best during the year, they knew how to get it going at the right time, and they knew how to not lose it.
Yeah.
And I feel that's where Andy Reid and Mahomes are now.
Especially with this, because the thing that Tom Brady had because of Belichick is a great defense all the time, every time.
Yep.
This is the first time Mahomes has had a great defense.
Yep.
Like if they had this defense on those other teams, it would have been blowouts.
Well, I agree with you, but I will say this. They always have had timely defense.
Yes, for sure.
When the chips are down,
Jones comes in.
Clark comes in, and they stuff a run on 4th down.
No, you're absolutely right, because in the Super Bowl with the 49ers, the timely defense came after they scored the touchdown with Kelsey. After the 3rd and 15 Wasps play, their defense went. It was like a 3 and out.
I was never impressed with their back end, with their cornerbacks, or their safeties. Now I am. I know the guy's name is Snead. I don't know the other guy. I don't even know, but they're both all pro.
No, they are considered potentially to be the number 1 and number 2 at their position.
So there you go.
Yeah, and they're super young, and it's one of those things where, I wouldn't. It's the question of the week in the sports world was, what will a Kansas City loss have in terms of like an impact on Mahomes' legacy? And my answer is none. He shouldn't even be here this year. He should not be here this year. And of all the years, this is the year to jump on them.
And I'm thinking out loud again. The only other thing that I can think of is if McCaffrey goes wild. If they can get him if they can get him to the second level. Yeah,
he'll score. He scores.
He can go wild.
The difference between...
So what happens if he has a 200-yard, 3 touchdown?
It's certainly possible. The only thing I think this will be a close game. I can't imagine a blowout in one direction or the other.
Yep.
And the thing about the defense for the 49ers is they've been getting gashed too by the run.
Yeah.
And Pacheco is just a crazy little sharp-elbowed,
he's great.
There's never been a time Pacheco could get 4 yards and then he gets up and he just looks like an insane person. And they've been playing really well.
Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis.
Yeah.
For the Patriots, came out of nowhere, and for 2 years he ran like a crazy person, and then he was gone. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. When I look at Pacheco, I'm like, how long can you keep this up? It's like your second year, and you look like. I mean, he's played so well.
Yeah.
And that's what's so crazy about this whole NFL season. Before we go, it's like this whole season, these teams all have like something, it looked like the 49ers were untouchable. And in the past 2 games, they looked very much touchable.
Yeah.
They looked very much by teams who I was like, you should be dominating these teams. You should be dominating.
Well, look
these
at
teams.
look at Dallas. Look at Miami.
They all
this
fall
year.
off.
We were so impressed. The Eagles at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, well, they fell apart more than any team I've seen.
It was a telltale sign that the Patriots at 4 and whatever almost beat them on the first game of the season. If it wasn't for a guy with a toe tap out of bounds, the Patriots would have beat them in week 1.
It's just crazy, and they had like a couple of these close games, and they
won them all.
And the thing is, like with them, they were just Jalen Hurts injured most of the year. Another thing I will say before we go, this will be, I think, the first Super Bowl Patrick Mahomes plays healthy.
Not limping around.
Last year he was limping around.
But that happened during the game, right? So it could happen on the second play.
Well, no, that one. But last year was. You remember he had the ankle
sprain,
and that happened in the Jacksonville game. So he played on that ankle for the Bengals game, and then he played on that same ankle for the Super Bowl. This is the first time that this dude is going in 100% healthy.
Cool.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, so I guess if we're picking, I'm picking Kansas City.
You're picking, and I'm going to just pick the 49ers because there's just doesn't, it wouldn't make it, this season would be insane.
And, I would say 4 points. You know what I mean?
I can't imagine.
It can't be much bigger than that.
I would be shocked if it was. I would be shocked if it was a blowout either direction.
Me too.
All right.
Thanks.
That's all for this episode of the Unnamed Sports. We'll come back after the Super Bowl.
Sure.
We'll discuss it, and then it'll be NBA time.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. All right. Thanks again for joining us. Take care.
Thanks.